This week I check out a game that I'm surprised that I haven't talked about yet, Adventure Island 2. I didn't play a lot of the original because I was awful at it, but Adventure Island 2? Yeah, I played this one quite a bit growing up. The premise behind Adventure Island 2 is simple enough to follow. You play as Master Higgins, and his girl Tina was kidnapped by an evil witch doctor. So Higgins jumps across 8 perilous islands in order to confront the witch doctor and save Tina. You'd think that if you would be adventuring across islands to go after a witch doctor, that you would bring a way to defend yourself, but I guess Master Higgins isn't very bright. When you start the stage, you are brought to an inventory stage, where you select any items that you may have to bring with you. You can easily start a level without any weapons, making you rely on your wits in order to evade any kind of opposition that you encounter. However, the game doesn't expect you to complete the game as a complete pacifist. You'll find eggs that can be broken in order to reveal items on the inside. The basic weapon is a stone throwing axe, which will easily do the job. But even better, there are 4 varieties of friendly dinosaurs that will also assist you on your quest. Each one has their uses, but some are definitely a lot better than others. You have 2 dinos in the colors of blue and red, which use their tail and breathe fire, respectively, allowing you to get some non-arcing attacks in. In addition, these dinos can defeat enemies that normally take 2 shots with 1 strike, along with destroying any rocks that you run across. To make them even more useful, the red dino can swim in lava, making some stages much easier to run through. In contrast to this, the blue dino can run on ice without sliding around, making the colder caverns safer. They both still hate flames and water though. The third dinosaur is the only one that can survive in water. On land, this dino moves slowly, but in liquid, it speeds up travel. This dinosaur doesn't have an attack of its own, so you'll have to rely on Higgins' stone axes to defeat any obstacles while you ride it. The fourth dino is the rarest, but is potentially the most useful, a flying beast. To attack, it drops rocks below it, but you probably won't be doing a lot of pebble throwing. Instead, you'll be flying around to get to the end of the level as quickly as possible. There is a slight catch to this. In many stages, if you have the pterodactyl being used, random birds or insects will appear to create at least some sort of threat. There were a few times where I tried to use the flying creature to clear a somewhat difficult level, and lost it within seconds. There is another reason to use the dinosaurs. They act as a sort of extra health point. If you take damage while riding a dino, you'll lose it, but you'll be able to keep progressing in the stage. Granted, if you fall down a pit, well, you're screwed regardless of whether you're riding a beast or not. So what kind of enemies do you encounter? Well, you have birds, fire-breathing snakes, octopi, bipedal pigs, stationary snails. Yeah, for the most part, you are going up against somewhat small, everyday creatures. You don't really come across much that is fantasy-based as you might expect. Even the bosses are mostly larger versions of creatures that you might come across, like a large hermit crab or a wasp. You never even run into the evil witch doctor, as the final boss is a bee-like creature. After this thing is killed, Tina is saved. It's kinda weird if you ask me. Is the witch doctor really that much of a coward that he runs away after Higgins destroys a bunch of wildlife? It's neat that you can decide how you want to tackle each stage. Do you want to bring the fire-breathing dino, or just an axe? Or do you want to hope that there's an axe at the start of the level, and enter with nothing but your hat and grass shorts? But there is a catch to this system. The difficulty ramps up quickly, with some frustrating levels appearing about halfway through the game. If you get caught dying frequently in one of these stages, and you run out of offensive options, you are, quite frankly, screwed. Not every stage has a dino or axe, so you might be forced to simply evade your threats. This usually doesn't go very well. Get to the final island of the game and you're going to need every power-up that you can get, as they can be downright brutal. Hell, this stage here, with the exploding volcanoes, took me about 45 minutes to clear, and that's even after I gave up playing the game legitimately and enabled cheats on my Retron 5 that gave me infinite lives and weapons. I used to be able to complete this game here and there as a kid. I have no idea how I did it. Determination, I suppose. Nowadays, though, if I'm just playing through the game, I typically stop after I struggle a bit in a level. That's because even though there are 8 islands with anywhere from 7 to 12 stages each, the game does start to get a bit repetitive. There is a slight non-linearity with the game, with Higgins changing his path depending on which egg you hit in the end level bonus game. So you might play the game going one route one day, and a different route the next, skipping a level you might have had issues with before. But when you get down to it, you're always doing the same thing. It's a basic platforming game, with various forests, beaches, caves, and so on. In each, you're always trying to just reach the end, collecting fruit to extend that precious time limit that is indicated by the gauge under your score. Holding B to rush through a stage will occur often, as will memorizing where any spiders or other insects may lie. So yeah, as much fun the game can be, I do tend to lose interest after a while. It might be better if the bosses had different attack patterns, but for the most part, they all attack in the same way. Once you reach a boss room, you'll hop off of your ride if applicable. If you don't have an axe, one will be provided for you. Now you simply attack the enemy and avoid the shots they fire at you. Other than the first enemy, they all just shoot 2 projectiles at you, one at you and one at your dino, or both at you if you don't have a friend along for the journey. Once you do enough damage, the boss will change color and double up on its attacks. They are usually easy enough to take down, but if you fail a few times, the boss will move to a different section of the island, if there are any that remain that were not cleared previously. I do like this idea, but I wish the bosses were a bit different other than just looks. At least the game does look great though. Higgins has some great detail in his visuals and animation. The opposition, on the other hand, are minimalist in nature, but I guess that's to be expected since most enemies are half of Higgins' size. The levels though look great. Vibrant colors are used to portray the remote tropical island environments, and the rocky caverns are drawn in darker hues to present that feeling of despair. The sound is just as good. Music tracks aren't particularly long, but they are well done, and I never had the urge to mute the TV. Attacking sound effects never get boring, which is good because you'll probably be spamming the B button in hopes of finding any hidden eggs to give you a power-up or a bonus area in the clouds. Adventure Island 2 is a game I liked as a kid, and although I still have fun with it now, it just doesn't hold my interest for long. Maybe it's just too lengthy for its own good. But even so, I can't fault the game as it's fun for first-time players. Solid graphics, smooth gameplay, a difficulty curve that starts off fair but quickly escalates to hair-pulling levels. A password system would have been nice, but at least the game does have a level select code that's printed right in the manual. Granted, this code does not give you any power-ups, so you can start on the final island with absolutely nothing if you really want to, but I'd rather not. Either way, I'm happy that I found a complete in-box copy of this game in recent weeks to add to my collection, as even though it may not be a game I play long-term anymore, I still enjoy it from time to time. Final score? 6 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.